Welcome back to another episode of CP Talks with Trey, brought to you by my CP and me L.L.C. Today we're going to touch on a sensitive topic of depression, emotional support, and coping skills, and also how pets can play a role in that journey. Before we really get started, I have a couple of disclaimers I feel I really must include at the beginning of this episode. Firstly, as stated, this episode does touch on depression, so if that is something that is triggering for some listeners, I highly advise that you skip this episode and proceed on to the next one. I also feel I must include that I am not a medical professional, and this podcast should not be a substitute or constitute in any way medical advice. If medical advice for depression is needed, it is highly advised that you speak to your primary care physician or another licensed medical professional about depression if needed. And this podcast should not be a substitute or be considered medical advice. As someone with a disability, I myself have suffered with depression. I have, as I'm sure a lot of people have. Actually, I want to read you an article from Depression and Disability, a practical guide by Carla Thompson, PhD, in the North Carolina Office on Disability and Health. My CP and me LLC and CP Talks with Trey have no affiliation in any way with this publication. According to the article, depression is an illness that affects more than 17 million Americans each year. Many of these people are individuals with disabilities. Not everyone with a disability becomes depressed, and those who do become depressed may not be depressed because of their disability. However, people with disabilities face unique challenges and stress, which place them at increased risk for depression. Depression is a common and serious health problem. About 12% of all men and 20% of all women are expected to have at least one significant episode of depression in their lifetime, and 5% of the general population may be depressed at any given point in time. Studies have shown that symptoms of depression may be 2 to 10 times more common in individuals with disabilities or chronic illness, and depression is one of the most common secondary conditions associated with disability and chronic illness. Let's think about that for a minute. 2 to 10 times more common in individuals with disabilities or chronic illness. 2 to 10 times. I don't know about you, but to me that seems significant. So, emotional support definitely plays a role in disability, I would say. I know I've suffered from depression myself multiple times throughout my life, actually, and I've developed and learned some coping skills to deal with that depression. You could try taking deep breaths. If you're struggling doing something that should seem basic, like a transfer, just take a second and think through it. I understand that that can be hard at times, especially when you need to move quickly, but it really does help to take a second and think through your actions, especially doing something as important as a transfer. Trust me, you don't want to fall. Positive affirmations is another good defense, I guess you could say, for depression. Just reminding yourself that you are worth it. You are valued. You are important. And in case you need to hear it today, you are. You are worth it. You are valued. You are important. Another good coping skill for depression I personally have found can be pets. I myself have two very lovable cats. They're the light of my life. I couldn't imagine my life without them. And they definitely have curbed my depression and my depressive episodes. They haven't gotten rid of them completely. I still struggle with the depression from time to time, but they definitely have cut my depression down by a lot. Just having an animal to cuddle with, whether that's at night or fully, I can't fully explain it as I'm not a medical doctor, as previously stated, but I just know that it helps from my own personal experience. So, depression sucks. It sucks a lot. But you're not alone. There are coping skills. And if you need to talk to somebody more professional, I highly encourage you to do that. But deep breathing, positive affirmations, and even pets have shown me that depression can be curved. It can be stunted. It can be mitigated. So, depression sucks. That's absolutely true. But finding ways to cope with it makes you much stronger in the end. You are strong, you are valued, you are worthy, and depression cannot beat you unless you let it. So don't give up and continue to be strong. You are valued, you are worthy, and remember, you can win this fight.